Let's get started, shall we? Maybe I'll add the actual memory manufacturer there as well. It is indeed G-Skill. Oh, this is about, yeah, G-Skill. That'll do. I have no idea about the audio quality. I hope it isn't too terrible. But let's just crack on with the build, shall we? Aorus. Okay, so let's take a look. Maybe I should give you guys a bit of a zoom in. There. Okay, here, yeah. There's the voice. It's a bit disorienting with the camera. Actually. Well, the idea is to build a whole PC. A gamer rig, basically. This is not a build for myself. It's actually for my brother, who has like an ancient machine from like 10 years ago or something. So we're gonna fix that right up. No. Cool. All right. I was planning to have some nice ambient background music, but apparently my shitty work laptop isn't up for the job, so I'll just sit here in awkward silence. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, maybe I'll keep it zoomed in. You can actually see something here. Let's start with the CPU, shall we? So what we got here is Ryzen R9 series. It's the 12-core 3900X. It's got a 3.8 GHz base and 4.6 boost clock. Should be lengthy. I still think most of the games are only using like 4 cores, but maybe in the future we'll get some utilization from all the cores. Yeah, the actual 90% of the weight, the actual cooler. Okay, maybe I'll just zoom out just a bit. Yeah. So we'll move that there. Let's see what we got. Dun, dun, dun. Oh. AMD. Is this the RGB version? I think it is. Yeah. This is the one with the light up ring. Bit unnecessary if you ask me, but hey, each to their own. So let's drop in the CPU itself. It's funny, AMD is still using the pins. I believe it's the PGA layout where the pins are on the CPU, not on the motherboard, whereas Intel is flip it around, move the pins into the motherboard, and there's only like pads on the CPU. But anyway, just an interesting design choice. I mean, I think the better way to do things is to put the pins on the motherboard, since usually that's the less expensive part, easier to replace if like pins are bent. There we go. So yeah, so as I was saying, basically with the, you want to get as fast memory as you can get with the Ryzen CPUs, because that makes the Infinity Fabric go faster. But there's a limit actually. As we get all these overclocked RAM sticks, I think the 3600, that's the upper limit that you can use with the Infinity Fabric. Because if you go over 3600, I think it separates the Infinity Fabric from the RAM. So that's when you get diminishing returns. So this is about as high as you can go. So yeah, and the reason I'm using two 16 gigabyte sticks instead of like 4 8 gigabyte sticks is basically the AMD platform. We have dual channel memory, so basically to utilize the whole bandwidth that's for the RAM, we need like 2 sticks. That's like the minimum, and we can of course go to 4, but 2 is fine to utilize the whole bandwidth. And when we use 2 16 gigabyte sticks, we get like 32 gigabytes, and then we also have room to expand. I mean, in case anyone feels crazy enough to go to like 64 gigs, which is a bit overkill. I mean, unless you're doing like heavy video production or something. Now, one thing I need to check from the manual is what slots are we gonna use? Because if my memory serves correct, Intel and AMD have the opposite recommendations. For optimum performance when enabling dual channel mode with 2 memory modules, we recommend you install them into DDR4 A2 and B2 sockets. Okay. So if we take a look, this should be labeled. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. So basically we got A1, A2, B1, B2, and we're gonna plot this into A2 and B2, which are the furthest away from the CPU, which is the opposite what Intel recommends on their chipsets. So when doing an Intel build, you usually put them in the A1 and B1 slots. I don't think it makes like a huge difference, honestly. There shouldn't be like a dramatic loss in performance, but you know, it's always good to go with the recommendations. So that's what we're doing today. Usually when building these, I like to use the packaging as like a protection for the table. But once we get to the actual chassis, I think I'm gonna throw on a towel. It'll be a bit nicer to work with. Okay, so I think I'm gonna need that. Actually, let me move you just a bit more in the center. Yeah, that's a bit better. So yeah, I think I want to stick this in before we do the CPU cooler. So today we are going to be using the focus. Damn you, focus. Yeah, the Corsair MP600 NVMe drive, and we'll be using one. This is the 2 terabyte version, so that should be plenty of space. And yeah, we could have gone with the Gigabyte NVMe as well. That would have worked quite nicely. But the thing was that they didn't have that in stock, and I didn't feel like waiting. And basically, when it comes to these NVMe drives, the Gigabyte one and the Corsair one, they use the exact same driver chip, so it's all the same, frankly. And of course, when you take a detailed look into the specs, you can see that the sequential read and write are a bit less than 5,000. So, and I think the Gigabyte chip boasts like a bit over 5,000, which is all fine and good, but it's actually about the IOPS that matter. And that's also kind of a niche case, because you're rarely moving like huge files where that actually matters. Mostly it's just like reading game files, loading a level, and all that jazz. And when it comes to that, that's all just random access speed, which is nearly identical. You won't see much of a difference between the NVMe drives. But yeah, let's open this baby up and put her in. Now, one thing I do want to say about this particular motherboard is that it's quite nice that they actually put the first NVMe drive up here instead of here, because it basically comes down to heating, because this is the primary graphics card slot. So you're gonna plot the big GPU right here, and if you have the M.2 slot move from here to here, you're basically covering it. So basically, and also if you're using like you're not using a reference GPU, so it's not a blower style card, that means it's blowing all the air like up, down, and to the sides, and well, basically everywhere it can go, and also directly onto the hard drive, which is not good. So so it's nice to see that they've moved the slot from here to here. So now it has some room to breathe. Just a small consideration, but I think in the long run it's gonna affect the failure rate. I think the drive will live a longer and a happier life this way. But yeah, when it comes to like new technology, this is just something that boggles my mind. Like this thing, this is like 90% of the actual weight, come on now, is the heatsink. It's like a thin PCB that is holding 2 terabytes of data, which is insane. And the rest is just heatsink. So that's pretty neat. But yeah, let's open the slot here. And a word of advice: do not under any circumstances lose these. These are the smallest screws that go into a PC. You do not want to go crawling around the floor looking for one. They're impossible to find. Yeah, so this is meant for the actual if there's like a bare M.2, but this has its own heatsink, and it's quite a bit beefier than the motherboard supplied one. I mean, and it's quite a bit longer since it's designed for a longer M.2 card. So basically we're gonna throw this away. Let's have a look how they line up. So we'll put the new standoff in. I believe it's the next one here. I'll tighten that. Actually, that's a bit too small. Do you have a bigger one? Oh no, it's a hex screw. That's even a smaller one. Do I have a Phillips head? Yeah. Yeah, well, it doesn't need to be crazy tight. You'll most likely just end up breaking something. So, yeah, Corsair MP600. Let's get this thing in. So, this is kind of weird how you plug in these M.2s, because it's not like very intuitive, at least not for me. Because basically, when you have the actual connector, you put it in like a 45-degree angle, and then you turn it down. So we put it in like this, and then just push it down, and then the screw hole lines up properly. Okay, so then we grab the smallest screw in the world and put that in. Now, magnetic ended screwdrivers are very handy here. The only downside is that my screwdrivers have lost all their magnetic power, so they're actually not magnetic at all, which is a shame. I mean, some people say that you shouldn't use magnetic screwdrivers in assembling a PC, and to that I say, you're full of shit. They're fine. There isn't like any any like magnetic memory you could go poke around in. And usually you shouldn't poke your motherboard. That's stupid. So don't do stupid things. Live a happy life. Right. So I think we're ready to do the Noctua cooler. So Noctua. And some of you may be asking that why aren't you using a AIO, an all-in-one cooler with water cooling technology? It's better, right? No, it's not. Or it depends. Basically, the reason I'm going for a Noctua cooler here is that mostly for just the volume level. I mean, water cooling can be quite like almost silent, but so can a decent quality box cooler or a tower cooler, because you have to take into consideration that even though the water cooling fans don't usually have to spin that hard, but then you also have the pump, the actual water pump, and let me tell you, that is not silent. I mean, it's not like a huge amount of noise, but it's like a different frequency. It's like a low hum, and that I think that's easily more audible than like these a bit higher pitched fans. And also there's the thing that, well, you have actual water flowing through your computer now. So I'm not like a physics major, but water and electronics usually don't mix that well. And you always have to take into consideration what you're giving up and what you're getting. And with a water cooler, you might get like I don't know, 3-4 degrees cooler if you get like a nice and big one. The smaller ones are just useless. But the downside is that, yeah, you have water going through your computer now. So if there's a leak in any of the gaskets or connectors, or the pump fails, or whatever else, the easiest comparison is that when you have like a traditional cooler and it fails, what usually happens is, well, a fan fails. It just can't spin anymore. So when it stops, the temperature starts rising, the CPU gets hotter, and that's bad, yeah. But there's all these safety mechanisms that the computer will just basically shut down before it gets too hot. Quite simple. But when an AIO fails, or like even a custom loop fails, there's a lot of things that can go very wrong. Especially if there's even the tiniest amount of leakage from the piping. So yeah, when it comes to building like long-lasting systems that need to be reliable and as low maintenance as possible, I just use the Noctua tower coolers. They work so well. They cool very well, and they're just basically set and forget. There was a recent problem with one of the major AIO cooler manufacturers, It was, I believe it was Enermax, if I'm not mistaken. I think Level 1 Techs did a video on that, and I think a few other tech tubers made videos on the Enermax AIOs. Just basically they were corroding from inside out, which is not good. And that would, they wouldn't leak necessarily, but the corrosion that formed into the inside would wreak havoc on the tiny pipings. Because when you have like a water block, it's basically just a restricted tube with multiple channels, multiple very thin channels going through the area that we want to keep cool. And when you have like very thin channels, you don't need much buildup to clog it up altogether, and that's not good. And they're a pain in the ass to clean up. I mean, you do not want to open those if at all possible. So you're gonna be rinsing it and scrubbing it for the better part of the afternoon. Okay, so now that we have the box cooler, you can see the two screws that are between the towers. Those are what we're going to use to attach it. But before we can do that, we need to actually remove the motherboard's stock CPU brackets and replace them with these ones. Let's just see what's in the box. Okay, so here we have the fan attachment brackets for the additional fan, and we have like a Y adapter if you want to run two fans from single connector. Some thermal paste. The Noctua one is quite decent. There are some fancier ones, but I think we'll be fine with using just that. And then some two low noise adapters. So basically, if you want to go like really low RPM, you can use these in between the motherboard and the fan, so you get like a lower RPM. Here's one peculiar thing I want to mention. Like usually when you buy any kind of PC stuff, you always get these like small stickers that you can stick into the side of your computer just to show some brand loyalty or anything. But when it comes to Noctua, I think they're the kings of this game, because those stickers that you get, they're just like basic paper or plastic or whatever they're made of. But Noctua, they have like these fancy metal ones. Yeah, get the focus. So basically, this is actual metal. As you can see, it's shiny from the other side. Oh, actually, that's just tape. But anyway, you can see how it shines, only 3D. So this is actually metal, which is quite a nice touch. I mean, that's I just think that's really fitting, because they are like a bit of a, how do you say, like a premium fan manufacturer. So if you're gonna make the absolute best fans in the industry, it's only fitting that even your stickers are actually made of metal. So that's metal. Basically here we're going to use the smaller ones, and what we're going to do is we're going to take off this and this. These are the plastic stock ones, and we're not gonna use those, and instead we're gonna put in these. So the way we do that is we're gonna grab a fairly large Phillips screw driver. Let's use this one. I like to use these modular ones. Takes less space than having like a separate screwdriver for everything. So as I unscrew these, there's the screw that goes through the motherboard, and there's usually like a back plate on the other side. So take that into consideration and taking this thing off. But basically I don't actually need to even see the other side, because I'm just gonna take these off, and I don't know if you can see it. Well, let's just zoom the fuck in. So basically, if you can make out the small pegs, meaning this one and that one, this one and this one, the black like thread pegs that come through the motherboard, they're part of the backplate. So we're gonna leave that in. We're not gonna change that one. We're just gonna put on our standoffs and screw in the new brackets. And we can actually get rid of these, as we're not gonna use them. There we go. So here are the plastic standoffs, one for each thread. There we go. And these go on like this. So then we'll just screw them in. And the other one. In you go. And there we have it. It's finished. Let's go home. Right. Now we need to lay on some thermal paste. And this is the bit of a tricky one. With Intel CPUs, the conventional knowledge is that, what is with this cars today? You usually put like a small, like a pea-sized bead on the middle, and then you just clamp the cooler down, and that made a lot of sense since the actual chip is in the middle of the die. But with Ryzen, that's not quite the story. So I think the die chiplets are scattered around the corners, I think. Or there's the IO die, and there was the actual core dies, the CCXs. So instead of like a one central bead, I think we're gonna do, AMD recommends doing like an X. So that should cover everything. The other method is like putting on some paste and just using like a library card or something to like sweep it into like a very thin layer, so it's basically all evened out before you put the actual cooler in. But yeah, I think I'm gonna just do the X. Yeah. The most cleanest of X's, but Yeah, I think that should cover it quite nicely. So I do like this, and then we need to apply a bit of pressure so that the spring-loaded screws actually go in, which is not too difficult. So the nice thing about this Noctua's attachment system is that you can basically, you don't have to guess if it's too tight or too loose. You just basically screw it all the way down, and then it's good. It's perfectly calculated, the tightness and the force that is applied onto the CPU. Yeah, so there we feel that the screw is all the way down and it's properly seated, and the actual springs will take care of the actual pressure. So yeah, that's that. So there's gonna be like an outlet fan here on the chassis itself, I believe. So I think we're gonna do like a push-push type of scenario. And oh, one kind of a neat, helpful thing. If you're wondering what way does the fan push the air, you can always check the where it's attached to the actual rim of the fan. That's where the air comes out. So basically here it would go that way. So in, out, in, out. Makes sense. Now these are some 140 millimeter fans, so they should push plenty of air. We'll see if we have to. This is usually almost always a problem when you're putting a fan right here, especially when it's the 140 millimeter one, because usually, as you can see, the RAM sticks are right here. So if I just plot this down here, this is how much it's gonna protrude. I mean, if I can show you the height difference. So these are basically, the back fan is connected. It's right on top of the RAM. So just something to bear in mind. There are like a few things you can do. Basically, one thing is just to use like a 120 millimeter fan. So that'll fit in here quite nicely. Or just if you have a nice big case with lots of room here, then you can just use the 140 millimeter one, and it shouldn't matter at all. But now that I think of it, I'm wondering, have I done like a pull-pull configuration before? That is entirely possible, because that would mean like moving this fan to this side and putting this fan on this side, so they basically pull the air in instead of pushing it through. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with the push-push on this one and just see how it works, because when we when we put the motherboard into the chassis itself, we're gonna see if it fits, and if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. You can quite easily change the orientation. It shouldn't be a problem. So let me just check how the bracket goes in. So it's like, yeah. Let me show you as well. So here's the weird looking bracket, and this goes in like this. You just basically put it from the middle, and that goes that hole, and this goes to the other hole here. Yeah, like this. So now when you put it onto the actual fan, you just stretch the bracket so it goes into the actual row fans or fins, pardon me, and just do the same to the other side. Okay, and I don't wanna rest it on the RAM sticks, so I'm just gonna move it just a hair above it. Yeah, and we should be golden right there. Yeah, I think it's about lined up. Maybe one row down, maybe. Let me see if there's any clearance. Yeah, we're basically talking about a millimeter, but as long as it isn't resting, it's fine. So yeah, this is what would be called a push-push system. We have twin towers, and both fans are pushing. Did you hear that? Some adjustment may be needed. What, the other one? Okay. The other one spins freely. What is it snagging on? Actually, let me just take it off altogether. Let's see if it actually spins. There's still some problem with the fan itself. Oh. Has the rim been deformed in some way? Quiet as a whisper. Okay, it's just that I think it's the fan blade has just shifted a bit during transportation. I just jiggle it a bit, so yeah, seems fine. Trust me, a professional. Yeah, I think one down. I'm not a perfectionist per se, but just like when things are neat. I do the jiggle. Come on now. Where is it snagging up on? Yeah. Complete silence. That's what we're aiming for. So let's see here. Oh, now the power cord is going in between the RAM slots, but I don't think that's any issue. Put that in and put the other one in. There. Sound is a pound. So I think it's time for the chassis. So we're gonna need some room, and actually I think I'm going to zoom out quite a bit for this one. So let's move these and let's bring out this huge thing. That's right. Yeah, so basically a Define R6 USB-C. It's the non-tempered glass version because we ain't about that RGB. Just a personal preference of mine. I don't really get the whole blinding lights phenomena. One thing that I'm mostly wondering about is how can those streamers that have the RGB pulsating lights in the background, I mean behind their computer, how can they look at that like several hours of the day? You'd think that you'd get like a migraine at some point. Especially if it's that one very particular type of blue tint that I so very much hate. It's the kind of like I don't quite know how to describe it. Like a electric blue. It's quite a dark blue, but you sometimes see it on like roadside signs, like company logos. Sometimes that use blue, they have that very specific dark blue. That's like when it's nothing but just the blue, it's like an instant migraine inducer. It's horrible, and it's very like illegible. Like you have to go stare at a 2-meter sign from like 10 meters away until you can actually make out what the hell the sign says. Ooh, fancy buttons. Oh yeah, the top is removable, but we're gonna leave that in. So yeah, there be the case. Beauty in it. I particularly think Fractal has made some really good design choices when it comes to the Define series. But mostly I just dig the aesthetic. It's just clean and simple. A black box. I mean, of course, I get it. There's a lot of people who want to really like show off their rig. Actually, isn't there like a whatchamacallit thingy here? Oh. Ah, it pops off. Got it. We'll put that to the side. And yeah, actually, as I said, we need a towel. Also, one small benefit to using like a surface like this is when you accidentally drop a screw or a component or like anything small, you can actually find it, and it cannot roll away since it's all textured and soft. The whole surface keeps things from running away. So I think, let me just position it so you can see it good. Okay, so since we're not gonna be using any of the traditional drive bays, I think we can safely detach this whole section. I believe this comes off. Yes. Basically, I want to rip all of these bays out. They're not needed because we don't have any traditional drives, and basically just blocking the airflow. So off we go. Oh, so these have catch screws. Interesting. I don't think there are going to be any mechanical drives going in. I mean, you could technically leave like one or two for like a big drive, but since this is going to be basically a gaming rig and it already has like a 2 terabyte NVMe, I don't think we're going to be adding any mechanical drive space. And also, yeah, if you think about future upgradability, at this point I don't think it makes quite that much sense to save a space for like a 3.5-inch mechanical drive, because the prices of the SSDs is coming down so fast. We're getting bigger and bigger drives that I don't think the mechanical drives are going to live that much longer anymore. The densities are getting crazy. Unless you're doing like something like some huge amount of storage, then maybe. Yeah, this is just a fan expander, which we also won't be using because we have more than plenty of slots on the motherboard for all the fans. And basically, if you have a chassis that has one of these fan controllers, it looks like this. I mean, it's a nice idea, but considering the amount that if you have enough slots in your motherboard to connect all of the fans, then you're not going to have any use for this. Because basically you want to have all the fans connected directly into the motherboard, because that way the motherboard can actually adjust the speed of the fan according to what the temperature is. So yeah, maybe if you have like an ITX board or something that doesn't have that many fan headers, then you could use that. But other than that, I don't see the point really. Okay. So there are a few more screws. Okay, I think it's attached from the bottom. Let's grab this filter out. Check out. Yeah, here it is. So here's the screws for the drive mount side panel. Some screws on the front end. Ah, okay. So it seems we need to actually take off the whole front cover. Take that off again, so we can get access to the last few screws. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so now that the actual drive bay side panel is off, we have a bit more room for airflow, and you can actually have also more room to put in all the components. And there's a few like I think these are for 2.5-inch drives, so SSDs. Basically there's room for 2, and I'm gonna leave those in just in case there is actually need for some more drive space, and you actually need some actual capacity and not just speed like an NVMe. So then you can just easily put in a SSD over there. Great. So now that the side panel is off, let's turn this thing around. So yeah, now we don't have the side panel here anymore. So that's nice. We have a nice clean open area here to attach the motherboard. And it looks like we have all the ATX standoffs here all ready to go. So I think we can just find the I/O shield, pop that in, and get cracking. I didn't recall seeing an I/O shield. That's when I realized that this motherboard actually has the I/O shield built in. So yeah, that's basically attached and screwed into the motherboard, so we don't have to put that in separately, which is nice. So let's see here. Yeah, and that's that. Now for some motherboard screws. The screws on the ATX motherboard. There's basically, I think, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So you have 9 screws, and you don't need to use them all, but again, you should, because you're probably gonna do this all in once. So come on, do it properly. Don't be lazy. So yeah, let's just take a quick peek here. The left one is the wrong one. It's too small, and the right one is the correct one. It's a bit shorter, the other one, and so this goes into the motherboard. A bit bigger thread and a bit longer screw. So yeah, but you can easily make out the difference between them. But yeah, usually it's better to start with the bigger one, because if it's not gonna fit, you're gonna notice immediately, because it's not gonna go into the thread at all. But if it's the small one, it's gonna just drop down into the big thread. One idea when attaching the motherboard is to basically turn every screw almost to the point that it starts getting tight, And then when you have all the screws like almost like 80% in, then you do the last bit of tightening. That way it's centered and there are no like tensions anywhere. But actually these screw holes line up so well that this time I'm not going to bother. Actually, on the Fractal cases, the middle one is a kind of a special one because there's actually no thread on the middle one, and there's actually a peg there. Why is there a peg, you ask? Glad you asked. Well, the idea is that when you go in and put the motherboard in place, the peg helps you to align the board. It's like a small little tab that ensures that the motherboard goes all the way in, so that the I/O shield is properly pressed into the side of the case or the back of the case, and that also helps to immediately align all of the screw holes. So I think that's an awesome little trick that they pulled there. Because I mean, if the motherboard is attached with 8 screws, it's not gonna go anywhere. And there we have it. It's steadily in place. I think we can do the power supply last. I don't think we're digging ourselves into a grave there. Let's see. Yeah, because the graphics card goes there, and so here's the graphics card here. There's going to be a PCIe connectors here, so those are easy to connect. There's the front panel connector here. That's a bit of a difficult one, but I believe they have supplied us with like a quick connector. Yes, there is. Now, this is one of the, I think, the most important like small upgrades into PC building in the last few years, because the only thing that hasn't changed like at all are the front panel connectors. They're always a pain because you have like these tiny little connectors that fit. Well, I can actually show you. Yeah, they're kind of like the one on the fan controller. It's not like a big connector, but they're actually like 1/4 of that size. So they're quite tedious to put in because they're like single pins that you put in this small little connector. So that's where this comes in. So here you can attach all of your connectors in this, what you call this? It's like a Unity connector or something. You basically put on all your little wires in here, and then you can just plot this whole thing down into the motherboard. So this makes life quite a bit easier. So now we got that, then I think it's time for the graphics card. Let's do the quick GPU beauty shot again. So here it is, the Power Color 5700 XT OC with the OEM style cooler. 3 fans, 120 I think, with 2 8-pin PCIe connectors. And on the connection side we have 3 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. And a neat little backplate. Or is it supposed to be like this? Yeah. So yeah, this is the monster that's going in this machine here. So we'll take off the PCIe protector. Let's drop this in here. Come on now. And there we have it. Oh, fuck me. Yeah, as I said, there's like some magnetic grip left, but not too much. Not too much. And one thing that is objectively annoying is I don't really dig this PCIe, like, what do you call this? Like locking ears. Because basically, how do I get this card out? How do I get it out? Do I pull it? No, I can't pull it. Because there's these annoying ears, basically these ones. If you can make it out, I don't think you can. Basically at the end of the PCIe connector, there's this stupid two little ears that you have to snap back before you can get the card out. So how the hell am I supposed to get this out when I can't even fit my finger between the CPU core and the GPU? So I don't think that's a good design. There we go. These connectors. So here's the screw, and let's just not do that again. That's such a bad design. Or whoever came up with that has never had a high-end GPU in his life. No, I'm not really gonna tighten these. It's best they're just snug enough that you can actually get this off with just your fingers. Because what's the point of finger screws if you cannot use your fingers? Yeah. Groovy. Oh, I'm ripping on my cord again. You still hear me? Yeah? Cool. And yeah, I think next course of action is to actually do the I/O, or the front panel connectors. The royalest of all pains in the ass. This was the, that's the USB. So basically we want to, do we actually have any USB headers? Oh, there's one. So in you go. Over here. And we'll plot you in Let's put you in the first one. There's the blank connector. Yeah. And then we have the almost identical looking HD audio, which goes from here. Ta-da! And we'll connect to you. Okay, you go in that way. Basically, you just have to look at the connector. There's one of the holes is filled, and you just check the connector on the motherboard and check which one is missing the peg or the pin. There we go. And then we have some USB 3.0. And this is basically the easiest one. It's a huge connector and it's blue, so this should be quite easy to plot out. Into the first one you go. Yeah, there we have it. Now for the actual front panel connectors. Is that too much? There's the correct angle, so this would be good, but that's not feasible. This would also work, but it slides. Okay. Oh. I think you guys just gonna have to trust me on this. This is tedious as hell. But so the front panel connector I mentioned earlier. So we're gonna make use of that now. And since it has all those markings handily, you'll know where each of the pins goes. Just follow the names. So reset switch. And I believe that one is minus. Click. What the hell is this? Who designed this ramshack facility? Oh wait, I did. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of work. So now we can just plot this one down. Let's just see which way it goes. 4 pins there. I think that one is it. Yeah, very, very annoying to do. But then again, you probably want to have all the switches in your case working, so you just kind of have to power through it. Yeah, and that's that. And now I think all we're missing is the power supply, and connect everything to it. So let's do some unboxing, shall we? So yeah, the power supply we're using today is Corsair HX series 1200. And as you might guess from the actual model name, yes, it's a 1.2 kilowatt power supply. It's the good kind of overkill. And what you see in sadly in many like semi high-end builds is that they have like a, oh Jesus Christ, I'm cutting up my fingers here. You have like a GTX or RTX 2080 or something crazy, and the power supply they use to power that thing is like the cheapest thing you can find, like absolute cheapest crap that barely reaches the power drain of the GPU. So don't do that. Get yourself a nice power supply. Your high-end machine deserves some proper power. We don't want to break any of those expensive components, do we? And here's some desiccant. It says do not eat. You actually can eat. That's a common misnomer. If you want to know why it says do not eat, there's a very simple explanation for that. So the reason the desiccant says that do not eat is basically because it's not food. Hence, you should not eat it. Mind-blowing, I know. Here we have it. So we got the single rail, multiple rail connector. Peripherals, SATA 6+2 PCIe and one for the 4+4 CPU. Some more peripheral and SATA and the 24-pin ATX. Silent operation at low to moderate loads. In this mode the fan will not spin. That's actually a really nice feature. Because I mean, basically, if you have like a monstrous PSU that can supply power for days, I mean, like it's not even stressing the PSU itself. Like, why would you spin it? There's no point. It's not gonna get in hot enough to warrant for a spin. Yeah, this was the one. So let's put in some screws, plot it in, and start connecting all the power cables. There aren't excuse me. There aren't going to be many though, because we have no external drives at all, and there's basically there's going to be the 24-pin, the 4+4, the CPU connector, and 2 PCIe connectors. Yeah, that's about it. No SATA, no Molex, none of that. No that shit. No. So this should be quite a quick and clean build. regarding that. And that's actually the beauty of modular power supplies. Because what's the point of having like 20 cables dangle out when you're using 4? That's one is the airflow consideration, but it just generally it makes it so much easier to work with when you have modular cables. It looks neater. It's nice. Yeah, so get a nice big beefy power button, and I think we're just gonna slide this guy right in. So I'm just gonna move this here, and I'll try to tip the case a bit occasionally, so you can also see what's going on. So yeah, PCIe, one of those. That's this PCIe, another one. Technically, you could connect the graphics card with just one cable, since it has like another breakout for another 6+2 PCIe. But if you have the connections in your power supply, it is generally recommended to use 2 cables. So some people have experienced like stability issues when using just one cable. So we're gonna avoid problems as much as possible and just use everything, every possible connector. Okay, so here I have 8-pin CPU, but I can see at the top of the motherboard and that there's like a one 4-pin and one 8-pin. So I wonder if there's another CPU connector. But what I gathered from BuildZoid's videos, you should, if you're into like the nitty-gritty of PC components and all the electrical stuff and all that, you should definitely check out BuildZoid. He usually does videos for Gamers Nexus, I believe. All the like PCB deep dives are quite interesting if you're into stuff like that. So basically, he said in a few of his videos that even though they're in the X570 motherboards, there are multiple connectors for the CPU. Like here we have 4 and 8, because usually you're used to seeing like just 8, but now there's more, and that's you would immediately think that yeah, that's because the AM4 processors, they need so much more power. But the thing is that actually that's way overkill. You're not gonna need more than 8. So basically you can just use one connector and just leave the other one unconnected. If you don't have the cables, it'll be fine. It doesn't have any effect on the performance. But since we are working with more than beefy power supply, we are going to use both of them, because why not? Can't hurt. But there's absolutely no problem in using just one. just so you know. So now that we have the big cable here, I'm gonna bring it out here, because this is where the ATX connector is, and I'll just do like quite a sharp turn here. Now, don't worry, this is fine, as long as you don't do like a sharp 90-degree angle. Like, I mean, I'm talking like razor sharp. It should be quite fine. Come on now. In you go. Oh. There we have it. Yeah. So, as you can see, it's quite, or can you see? So there it is. A nice tight connection. And then we can just wrangle the cable in the back so it doesn't take any space in the front. Okay, up next we are gonna tackle the annoying one, or annoying ones actually, because we're doing the CPU power, and these kind of suck. Actually, I should have learned from the last time to actually put these cables in before the Noctua cooler, or at least before I put the motherboard into the chassis, because these are a motherfucker. So basically they go, oh, let me show you. So they're going into here. Here are two connectors right in the back that they go into. And luckily there's a grommet there, right here, that I can get them out and do a sharp turn into the motherboard. But oh boy, that's gonna be a tough one. Here's another CPU, and again you can tell which side is which just from the lettering. Type 4 CPU. Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it all the way out, turn it into the right orientation. Okay, so the clip is on the upper side, so there, and I'm gonna tweezers like these come in handy, because you're gonna delve deep. So you basically want to just grab a good hold of the connector, then just bring it down with might and fury, but don't break anything. I think we got it. surprisingly easy. But not to forget, we still have the other one. So let's not celebrate prematurely. Come on, turn, turn. There we go. Yeah, that works for me. So then the other one. And regarding the stream, I don't think we're gonna do any installations. I mean the software side of things today. We're just gonna put this machine in a state that we can get it to post. Because the installing Windows isn't that entertaining. At least I don't think it is. So I'll just put this baby together and see if it runs. Okay, I think I got a decent grip there. My God, it's in. Well, I guess experience helps. You know what tools to use. So, sometimes I battle with that like 15 minutes without getting anywhere. So I'm quite pleased with this. Yeah, nice. So now let's connect them to the power supply. I think we can, actually I'm gonna put the dust filter back in, since we're not gonna be doing anything on the bottom side anymore. Okay, actually I can also open this wraps up for the cabling. I think we can start doing the GPU connectors. So they have these like a breakout part that you have actually dual connectors in a single cable. So with one PSU connector you get two GPU connectors, but it's advised to use two separate cables, so you just use one of those and let the other one hang in there, or do as I like to do, just take like a normal zip tie and tie it to the cord, so it's neat. But actually I'm gonna do that after I've connected them, so we'll get a cleaner layout. I'm gonna feed it the other way through. I think it's gonna be quite a bit easier that way. Okay. There we go. That's the first one, and there, and here's the other one. So this one goes inside here. And there. And now we can let's do the top side first. Not the GPU side. So I'll grab them both, they come here. And then we just join the 6 plus 2 into 8 and plug her in. Come on now. There we go. and then the other one, 6 plus 2. Into the GPU it goes. Yeah, so now I think we can break out the zip ties. So we'll do one each. Keep them all nice and tidy. Actually, lift this up so I can pull a bit on the cables. Yeah, gonna try to get it on the underside of the cable so it doesn't show. And you know, even this is kind of unnecessary, because again, this isn't like a glass side panel case, so you're not gonna see any of that anyway. But just if you at any point have to open it, it's nice to see what's going on there without any of the cables getting in the way. And there we have it. Cool. So here's what it looks like. Almost at the finish line. So yeah, GPU power cables. Let's get those in. And these are actually the last cables that are gonna go in. So as soon as we get these connected, we are probably, I think we're gonna be ready to test after that, which is nice. Okay, there's one connected, then the other one. You don't have much use for your eyes with these ones. You're just gonna go a bit touchy-feely. There. Unlimited power. Okay, so let's do the minimal cable management. Maybe we'll add that as well. And just grab all of them. Grabby. Reminds me of an American president. Now, oh, that's a bit tight. No, I think we're good. Yeah, that's fine. And I think I'll use the top one as well. Something in here. Those maybe. These, not so much. Maybe I'll do the fans. Yeah, actually I'm gonna just leave the ATX power by itself. It's such a huge cable, it doesn't need much management. So there. I'll connected, power supply, CPU has power, motherboard has power, GPU has power. We have the USB, the front panel, HD audio, and pretty much nothing else. So I think we are done. Let's go ahead and attach the rear panel. These popping side panels are actually quite nice. Are they actually plastic or metal? Let me check. So the recipients, those are plastic, obviously, but yeah, the actual balls in the panel. So they have like, let me show you, like studs like that. In addition to the fantastic voice insulating panel, those balls go into these small sockets here, so that when you actually pop the panel in, you don't have to like press it there in order for it to stay in. So basically just put the lip in from the first, or from the front, and then you just pop it in, and then you can add the screws. Technically you could even leave out the screws. I mean, as long as the internals aren't packed like so tight that the sides are gonna bulge out, you could just pop the sides in and just leave them without screws. It'll be very fast to open. But yeah, I'm gonna include those. So here's the, let's just maybe zoom out a bit and do like a quick show and tell. So some rear I/O. We got 4 USB 3, Wi-Fi, HDMI, but that's actually not usable since this is not one of those CPUs with an integrated graphics card. Then we have more USB 3, USB 3.1, Type C and Type A. I think that was an Intel NIC, 1 gigabit, and your usual assortment of audio inputs and outputs. And there's the Radeon graphics card, Red Devil, and the massive power supply. You're using one fan in the back. Nothing to see on the side. It's a black box. So at the front we have the usual Fractal connections, so headphones, microphone, reset button, Type C connector, USB Type 2, USB 3.0, and the power button. Oh, they've actually changed that into a slightly lighter action button. I guess that's for durability reasons. I don't know. And here we have the front panel. Where we have the front-facing fans, which there are 2, as you can see. And this can be easily removed there's like a small flap here. So this comes off and you can just wash it or blow air through it, however you clean your dust filters. So we have a nice clean airflow going through, and also the air dampening pad on the side of the back side of the door, which is very nice. Nice big 140mm fans, so we get a lot of air but little noise. And I believe it is customary, since doing the complete build, that we are gonna now do the peeling. Ladies and gentlemen, there, a fine machine. So I think we need to do a bit of a test run. I have no idea where I'm gonna get some power or a monitor. So yeah, I'm gonna do those off camera, since yeah, there isn't much to see. It's a post screen, like woo. You've seen those before, like every time you start up your computer. And I'm gonna do the OS install later and all that jazz. But yeah, it's like a quick like build we did. I know the audio sucks a bit, and the production quality could be higher, but I frankly can't be arsed, since I already spent like more than an hour setting this up. So so I hope it will do. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I mostly stream like games and some coding stuff on my channel. So this build was like a one-off. So I don't think I'm gonna do more of these anytime soon. You never know. But yeah, so more games, like I mostly play like Magic and Heroes of the Storm, Stellaris, Doom, whatever, all those fun games. So if you want to check me up on those, you can follow the channel. And also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's also possible. All the links are down below, so I'm not gonna ramble on about them that more. But anyway, the build is done. I'm gonna go see if it lights up, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.